obligation to be happy because I have an autoimmune disease. And when I get depressed, it makes it worse.
Good point.
Hey, hey, welcome to the Sustainable Happiness Podcast. My name is Nixie Davidsohn, and we have Joe Solo here on the show today.
Everybody, how you doing?
And you know what we're here. We're here to talk about sustainable happiness, how to create happiness in your daily life. And Joe is an amazing music producer, and he's going to tell us, how he has found happiness throughout his life. So, Joe, how are you doing today? Like, give us a little bit background.
Before I do that, I just want to tell you, I was thinking about the concept of happiness this morning, not even relating it to this podcast, but it's just ironic coincidence. And it occurred to me that you could be happy or calm or at peace or whatever word you wanted to describe the positive sensation of life. You're going to be about as happy as you decide to be. So making a decision to be happy no matter what comes your way, and of course it's impossible to be happy 100% of the time, but a mind can achieve a state of happiness, and therefore a mind can achieve a state of happiness regardless of external conditions. Even in this pandemic, there's no reason why you can't find a way to be happy, within the confines of it. So that is something that I think people should think about, choosing happiness.
You're going through your first heartbreak. Like, it was like, you don't know what to do. And you think you have to be depressed. You think you have to be sad. And that was the time I realized that happiness is a choice. It's a daily, momentary choice. Like you said, you can't always be happy. Like, you may experience sadness and you can feel that sadness, but deep down inside, everything's going to be all right again. You're going to heal. Everything's going to be normal again. You can fully feel other emotions, but come back to a homeostasis of happiness.
Well, maybe people, we can get lost in the feeling of sadness or anxiety or stress or whatever. But yes, to remind ourselves while in that state, this is just a temporary state. In fact, if you think about it, everything is just a temporary state. And how long is temporary? When is the future? Is it now? Or is it now? Or is it a year from now? So the only thing that really even makes sense is to try, and we've all heard it 1,000 times, but we have to remind ourselves 1,000 times to live in the moment, because worry is trying to basically control the future to be what you want it to be, which is impossible to do, other than your own actions and your own influence. And ruminating over the past isn't going to change it all. Now, there's nothing wrong. In fact, there's many positive things with reflection, looking at the past and then seeing what can you learn from it and how to improve going forward. But ruminating over the past and beating yourself up, no point in that.
Spot on. I agree 110%.
Thanks. Now, I'd say that a lot of people's pressures and stresses can come from their profession. And I'm in the music business, and that certainly has its ups and downs and its good days and not so good days. There is no straight line from point A starting out to point Z, big time music superstar.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a straight line like this. It goes like this all over the place. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you end up somewhere up here, up there. But you don't have to, because between point A and Z, there's all kinds of points that are just as meaningful and life satisfying. You don't have to be a big superstar to have made it in music. I say if you're doing what you enjoy doing and it pays the bills at the same time, you've made it. You're a success. And then the rest of it is just at what level. So I think it's important for people to remind themselves the money is only going to take you so far. In fact, I think there was a study that once showed that the average salary where happiness tops out is about $70,000 to $80,000, at least median income in America. And then because you $70,000, $80,000 a year, you're going to have the basics covered, and you're going to have them covered at a fairly nice level. And then everything above that is frosting on the cake. And there's nothing wrong with going after lots of thick frosting too. But the cake has to be made of good, solid, delicious ingredients. Otherwise, the great frosting isn't going to make a difference.
Yes. Man, you're making me hungry now.
Oh, sorry.
That sounds good. Hungry for life though, right? You got to have a hunger for life. That goes into the depression, is if you're not hungry for life, you're not hungry for you don't have a passion, you don't have a purpose, you know? But tell us about your background and what brought you here to this point.
Well, I knew my whole life I wanted to be in a creative field. And I knew that it was going to be something in entertainment. I started out being like an actor in comedy plays in grade school every year, right until high school. And I was also playing music. Starting around 6 years old, my dad sat me down at the piano and taught me how to play a major and a minor chord. And that was really easy. But I wanted to be able to go through the whole piano keyboard like I'd seen Liberace do. If you remember the old Vegas showman, Liberace was this amazing piano player. And so I took a green magic marker and I marked off, C, E, G at every octave on the keyboard to go through the C major chord, so I could hit the keys cleanly, seeing them with, And then my mom came home and she went nuts, of course, because I had permanently marked up the ivories on her grand piano.
Oh no.
So that's how I got my start in music. And then somewhere around fourth or fifth grade, I told my dad I wanted to play guitar. And he was like so excited. And I didn't know why he was so excited, but I found out later that his dad and his 11 aunts and uncles were all traveling entertainers on the vaudeville circuit back in the 1920s. They would go from town to town as a family act, doing these musical comedy variety shows. And so I guess my dad was like, great, you're in entertainment, carry on the family tradition. And he was so excited that I wanted to play guitar that he went out and bought a guitar and signed me up for a year of lessons with the city's best instructor. I was living in a suburb of Cleveland called Shaker Heights at the time. Oh, yeah. And the thing is he bought and signed me up for classical guitar lessons, and I meant electric. But I didn't have the heart to tell him because he was so excited and he spent all this money, and I'm just fourth or fifth grade. I hadn't really learned how to assert myself yet. So I just, kept to myself and went with it. But after about a year of lessons, I was just so bored with it that I couldn't take it anymore. And I had to tell him, look, I hate the guitar. I can't stand it. I don't want to play it anymore. I'm just done with it, And yeah. They're like, that's fine, but you have to tell your guitar instructor yourself. We're not going to tell him for you. And so I was really afraid to tell him because I was afraid he'd be disappointed or that he might not be able to make a living, as though the like $8 a half hour we were paying at the time was, making his living. But anyway, so he said, I have a feeling about you that you're going to come back to music. And I was like, no way, I'm done. But I was wrong, and somewhere around the 7th or 8th grade, I went to my dad again, and I said, I do want to play guitar again, but this time we're going to go with electric. So we got an electric guitar and an amp and an instructor who knew electric really well. And I took lessons for, about 2 years. I learned a lot of music theory too. And then in high school, I took college music theory courses because I'd already learned all my theory much earlier on in the classical lessons and from my second instructor. After that, I went to Hofstra University, which is in Long Island, New York, for marketing. And after about a year of that, I realized that I really wanted to go for it in music. So I moved to California, to Los Angeles, the capital of the music industry, which made sense to me because if you're going to be a fisherman, you don't move to the desert, right? You move to where the ocean is or where a big lake is, you know? And it blows my mind nowadays because so many people are like, I don't need to be in a music center to be successful in music. I can do it from wherever I am because of the internet. And you can do a lot from where you are now. I mean, a whole lot. But what you can't do is you can't serendipitously bump into people who are also in the music business at Starbucks. Or you can't go to various functions around town that are industry only and rise up within the industry and meet people face to face. And it's a people business. It's all about character and reputation and politeness and goodness. And I know that doesn't sound like the music industry. Most people think it's criminal, but the ones who have staying power, the people who have staying power in the business, they're honest, they're decent, they have character, and nobody wants to work with someone who's amazing, but is rude or is just hard to work with. It's a nightmare. So
yeah, it's like sports, right? You don't want like you don't want that person on your team.
Yeah, it's like anything. Who wants to deal with difficult people when there's so many talented, polite people around? But you'd be amazed at some of the emails that I get. Dear music industry professional. Well, already just right there, I know they haven't even done any research or homework as to who I am or taken any time to like personalize what they're writing to me, because it says dear music industry professional. So they got a listing somewhere of a bunch of people in the music industry and they're gonna send out a blast email. So already right there is like instant reject. Won't even read that email because there's just so many, there's not enough time. But if it's like, dear Joe, I've been following your work and congratulations on blah, da, 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 da. I have a question for you, da, da, da. Okay, well, that's a lot nicer. That's someone who I feel like I would want to give some time to help out as opposed to not. Although I'm really about helping as many people as possible be successful in music or whatever their entertainment dream is. And a little later on, I'm gonna give you a couple website addresses where you can get some really good entertainment and music industry tips. But yeah, getting back on happiness. In music, the road to success is lined with broken hearts and rejection. So you really have to have strong character. You have to know who you are. You have to be able to not only handle rejection, but you have to be able to use the rejection in a positive way, fuel it. I remember, I was so passionate about being successful in music when I first came out here, and I was 19. I remember getting stopped for speeding by the cops, and it was a really expensive ticket. And at the time, I mean, I was broke as a joke. 18-year-old starving musician in Hollywood. And it's like $350, $375 ticket. Ouch. And I was like, oh man, okay, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this as fuel to become more successful so that I can afford to drive at the speed I want to save time and be able to afford the ticket. Now that's a very 18-year-old male kind of thinking.
I've heard that before.
Now I want to drive safe and be very conscientious of my driving. But in any endeavor, you're going to get rejected. there is no, yes, you're perfect. Yes, you're perfect. Yes, you're perfect. And you rise straight up to the top of whatever you're doing. So the sooner you can learn how to use rejection to your benefit, the better. And it takes practice. So the more you're rejected with the right attitude, the more you're rejected, the happier you'll be.
Wow. Yes.
With the right attitude.
Yeah. I think that what it took me a while to understand the phrase failing forward, but what you just said,
that's good.
That sounds like failing forward.
That sounds like it could be the title of your book.
That could be the title of my life book.
I'm serious. That's what I do. I identify people's lyrics and help tighten up their songs as a record producer. That's part of what I do. Or I help identify a good title or this. But I think, I think that might be a good title for a book. Although you probably want to come up with your own title.
Right. Yeah, that's from someone else. I don't even know where it originated.
I'll make it a chapter in my book. I'm actually writing a second one right now on the music business, and we'll do that. Failing forward. You mind if I steal that?
You can steal it. It's not mine. Do I want to sit here and cry and eat ice cream and feel really bad?
That sounds good.
Do I want to go get some fresh air? Do I want to go to the beach? Do I want to challenge myself? Because now I'm alone. Now I'm single. Maybe I have more time. What do I want to do with that time? Instead of saying I just want to wallow in my pain. I've lived both sides. I've made both choices.
We've all been there, and having a broken heart or breaking a heart is no fun. In fact, breaking a heart to me is more painful than getting broken up with. I don't know why. It's just the way I'm built. But I notice sometimes when you have something painful, you can lean into it for a little bit to kind of fast forward processing it. Like when COVID first started and we had to be locked in the house for 2 months, I was thinking, okay, well, this can either be a really lame experience where we're stuck in the prison of our own home, or I could decide to do something with the situation and come up better. So what I decided to do was to lose excess weight. And I was actually, when the virus started, I was 304 pounds, and I lost 60 pounds.
Wow. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That that takes a lot of dedication.
Well, that and all I had to hear was that if you're overweight, and I was drastically overweight, you're 5 times more likely to die from COVID if you get it than not. So I was like, wait, I could walk out of the house and get COVID this afternoon and be 5 times more likely to die than the average non-overweight person. I better do something about this now. So I started walking 1 to 2 hours every night, and I just stopped eating bread and sugar, and that's my diet. I don't count calories. I don't do anything except avoid bread and sugar and walk for an hour or two every night. And the walking has turned out to be something I really look forward to, because it's not just I'm losing weight. You get a chance to meditate. You think about songs or think about situations in your life on what you can do to improve them. It's valuable you time. And I love the concept of multitasking, where you're getting more than one thing done at once, although it's not real. Multitasking is really just shifting your focus real fast. And studies have shown that multitasking actually doesn't give you more proficiency or productivity than being focused. But for some reason, it feels really good. Now, I'm going to take this somewhere. Feeling good is important, but you also have to make progress. You got to keep moving forward in your life. So I don't think the goal should be to feel happy at all costs, because the happiness you might be choosing might be a short-term happiness in trade for a long-term happiness, just like I would eat a big fattening meal and I'm trading short-term happiness. Maybe I was eating because of comfort eating, you know, maybe I was feeling anxiety because I was working on a mix and I can't get it to sound right. And I don't know what to do. And I can't tell my client, I don't know what to do because I'm the guy in charge. And, oh, wait a second, you know, maybe I'm just hungry. I'll just have a nice meal and then I'll figure out what to do. You know, that's kind of crazy thinking, right?
It's not crazy. I mean, many people go through that experience.
Thank you. Good to know that. Great.
I'm a nutrition consultant, and I've been doing it for many years, and that is a very common experience.
I didn't know that. Well, that's good to know. It occurred to me I was comfort eating so much, and that through the lockdown, I was definitely going to be comfort eating that much more if I don't do something like right away to change my behavior. So I made a decision to be skinnier and started eating right and walking every day. And what is it? Now it's middle of September and I'm 60 pounds lighter. I've got 40 more to go to hit my goal. And then I'll stay right there.
Yes, love it. Congratulations again.
Thank you,
like really, really important. And I hope that everyone listening to this feels that and hears that fully. I want to go back to when you said, you know, don't the short-term happiness, long-term happiness. And this is called the Sustainable Happiness Podcast. So I do want to focus on sustaining your happiness, which means, you know, and you're not, people think like, oh, well, how are you happy all the time? It's like, it's not like I don't get depressed. I actually recently got out of a 6-year relationship and one of us was a heartbreaker. So I know that it's not easy to decide to be happy every day. You have to really kick that devil off of your shoulder who wants you to be depressed and wants you to wallow in your pain and wants you to sink. But another thing is that I have an obligation to be happy because I have an autoimmune disease. And when I get depressed, it makes it worse.
Good point.
It makes me physically ill. And so like, for me, depression can actually equal death in about 3 to 6 months. And so within about 3 months, actually, is what I have experienced over the past 6 years. If I am depressed for about 3 months, I will be on the brink of death and have to just go to the hospital until they bring me back to life. And so I've been obligated to choose, and throughout my life, I've had to adapt to many situations. I grew up in a domestic abuse relationship, which was very verbally abusive, and went through homelessness as a child, like all of this crazy things, right? And then now I have an autoimmune disease. So it's just, there's many things where I had to adapt. I had to choose to be happy because you can't be depressed every day all the time. You just, it's almost like choosing, for me now, it literally is choosing death. And
yeah,
so
like when you say you can't be, you literally cannot afford to be depressed for months at a time.
yeah.
And I think it's important to make a distinction between clinical depression and sadness. You know, clinical depression, and I'm no psychologist, but let me tell you, being a record producer, I might as well be, because making records is 95% psychology. It really is. But if you have low serotonin, that'll cause a chemical depression. And a lot of times it's very difficult for people to tell, or even impossible to tell the difference between a chemical depression and just being sad, because life does have sad moments. And that's what a professional is for. So, I mean, if you find that you're sad for long periods of time, you know, it may not be it may just be your brain chemistry that needs a little support. And you can you can go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist and talk to them, or even your regular doctor, and talk to them about it and see if you're a candidate for medication. And if you are able to distinguish between that kind of depression and then just being sad, well, that's good then, because you can focus on the things that make you upset or sad or anxious and decide in the future, when that happens again, I will behave like this, or I will respond like this, or I will take action like this, or I will respond like this, or I will take action like this.
Thank you so much. See you next week.
NicoleDavidsohn.com